Hey guys, welcome back. In a previous video in this playlist, we talked about the properties of arithmetic, and we also talked about the order of operations. Now, in this video today, we will continue the Algebra 1 foundations by talking about expressions, a very simple but also very powerful tool for all of mathematics, because it allows us to show quantity or given statements, and it allows us to talk about the real world, to really begin talking about the real world. So let's begin with a question. When you hear the word expression, what comes to mind? And it's a fair question. And the most common responses that I get when I ask people this question is they think of a statement, or they also think communication. And that's not entirely wrong. In fact, if we were to get into the real world, yeah, that's definitely correct. An expression is really just saying what's on your mind. So now let's take this into a mathematical meaning. So what do we mean by expressions in mathematics? Because we can't just talk about everything that's on our minds in a mathematical sense, because numbers need quantity. And for us to have quantity, we need arithmetic if we have a quantity. So a mathematical meaning for an expression is just a statement that we use to show quantity. So an example of this would be 3 plus 3. And the reason being this is an expression is because we take our idea of a quantity, so it's saying that we have a quantity of 6, or we have a quantity of 3 and we're adding more to it. What it means is we can apply all the previous concepts. So we could apply the properties of arithmetic. We could apply the order of operations. We could use variables inside of our expressions. And so an example question that you guys might see on an exam would be Sally has the number of apples and John gives her 3 apples. Write an expression to show how many apples she has. All right. And so this is where we talked about variables. All right. We need a variable to talk about the number of apples Sally has, because we don't exactly know how many apples she has. So let's let x be the number of apples. All right. And so if Sally has a number of apples and we call that x, John gives her 3 apples, that means she has x plus 3 apples. So she has 3 more than what she does. And there we have it. That's really a powerful statement, because now we can take this from a simple sense of talking about how many things we have to now really defining other things within algebra that we talk about, such as equations. And from equations, we could talk about functions, and functions we could talk about just about anything in mathematics. There are so many different ways we could go with functions, but this is where we're going to stop there for now. Stop with that. Let's get back on track for a second. All right, so let's have one more example, okay? Because we can have multiple expressions in one. We can have a 3 plus x squared minus 3x squared plus 9, and we could combine everything that's in common to create a simpler expressions. So this tells a quantity. If we want to just leave it like this, we could, but that could cause confusions, especially once we get more complex operations such as the trigonomic and logarithms. If we don't simplify them, it could be our downfall. So what we could do is we are going to simplify it out using the order of operations and using also the properties of arithmetic. All right, so 3 plus x, quantity squared. So we know from the distributive property, we could, if we have a perfect square like this, we could make a special case where we take this term, that's 3 squared, so that's 9. Then we take 2 times 3 and the x, so plus 6x plus x squared minus 3x squared plus 9. All right, now we combine everything that's in common. So these 9s can combine together, these these, sorry, not that, but this x squared could get combined with this x squared here. So we have so x squared minus 3x squared, so that's minus 2x squared. All right, we have a single 6x, and we have a 9 plus 9, which is 18. So just a quick recap. Okay, so an expression in mathematics is a statement that we use to show quantity, a number of something. An example that was 3 plus 3 that we used. And we could use expressions to talk about real-world examples, such as having quantities of apples or bananas, or even talking about how many cars were on a dealership. And we could also have multiple expressions in one expression to cause one complex expression. And if ever the case, we want to simplify it as much as we can possible. Okay, guys, with that being said, we'll move on to the next topic. See you guys next video.